Hi, my name's Frances, and I'm the Senior Designer at Code for America.
And I'm Karen Boyd. I'm the City of Oakland's Communications Director.
OK, so we're going to talk about city websites for a while. Every year, we send our fellowship teams off into their partner cities, and almost every single team returns with at least one request to please, 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 can you do something about the city website? And we have always said no, essentially because the fellowship teams are doing very specific niche projects. And there's been no other capacity to do the work. However, now we have a tech team internally at Code for America, headed by Mike Magursky, who you saw a little earlier. And we wondered what would happen if we said yes to redesigning city websites. So we did a little bit of research into what city websites are like today. These are the top-level findings. They're not necessarily applicable to all city websites, but on the whole, most of them are on a 3 to 5 year redesign cycle. So every 3 to 5 years, they realize their website isn't really working for them, and they would like a new one. So they go out and they buy a new one, often from a very large, expensive vendor, possibly the kind of vendor like maybe has just shut down Howard Street. Yeah. So they are farmed out to these big consultancy firms. They cost a lot of money, and they're not very. They don't really listen to what the staff need, and they certainly aren't listening to what the users need. So they tend to be not very action-driven. They end up more like brochure sites than for tools. So they often bow to the vanity of those higher elected officials who feel like their news is more important than what the user wants to get done on the website that day. And therefore, the information architectures tend to be very broken, often instead displaying the internal structures of city government instead of that they're a user-driven process that we're coming to get used to on other websites that are not government websites. And then finally, it seems to end up being sort of side work for most city staff. They don't really see the website as part of their job. It's not central to what they do. It's not central to how they govern. So rather than building a city website, we thought it would be more fun to instead redesign the redesign process entirely. We would like to change many of the things I've just mentioned, get people out of that 3 to 5 year cycle, instead thinking about building a website that grows with them, that it becomes an integral part of the infrastructure of their government, and it evolves as the user needs of their constituents change, and it meets more people where they actually are now, which is often online.
So enter the digital front door, this notion that we really need to meet people where they are, and where they are is in their pajamas, doing things at 3 o'clock in the morning, getting city services when they have time and energy to do it. I don't know if they have energy at 3 in the morning. But the notion, we started thinking about this process about a year ago. We were wrapping up an amazing fellowship with Code for America. We were really excited. One of the goals of our fellowship project was to change the culture. And we realized that if this is really going to take hold, if these ideas are going to be embedded, we need a project that's tangible, that involves every level of the organization, and involves something that people can keep practicing these notions. So we're meeting people where they are. They're not coming to City Hall. They are online. They're online 24/7. They want city services delivered to them the way their banks deliver services to them. But in fact, that isn't where we are in the city. Our city, the last investment that we made in our website was in the 2003 budget cycle. We allocated $90,000. We have been shepherding that money for 10 years. But a $90,000 investment every 10 years is not about meeting people where they are. So we needed to really rethink what we're going to do and how we're going to approach this. The approach is data-driven, and we'll talk more about that in detail and sort of how we're doing that. But one of the aspects of data-driven design is that we know we need to make a business case to our city council. They are the people that will allocate additional funds. And so the case needs to be, where do we need to spend the most money? What are the best practices? Where is the investment going to pay off the most? We need to have an approach that's quick and actionable and immediately relevant to the users so that people can get in, get what they need fast, and get out. They're not lingering around on home pages. And then finally, an approach that's decentralized, where this is really about everyone participating, both on the user end and the internal users and service deliverers.
Have my clicker. So these are just a few of the ways that we've started to work with Oakland. It's not everything we're doing, just a few interesting pieces. One of the things we're interested in is obviously the data-driven aspects. How do we show the city staff the data that exists about their website? Almost every city has an analytics package, generally Google, but it's not very user-friendly. Most people don't know how to use it without a data science degree. So we're building things like small dashboards, which you can't see in great detail here, but essentially what it's showing is who is actually on the website right now at that very moment. Where are they? What are they searching for? What websites are they on? What's been popular that week, so that they can start to get a feel for trends and start to recognize their users that are in their virtual city hall. Similarly, internally, this is Mai Ling and her new Web Analytics Club, or the WAC, which is really cool. The people around this table are not technical people. They are people who have content on the website and want to know more about how it's being consumed, who's using it. They want to understand how to use the analytics properly, how to get the views out of that they need. We're also doing a large piece of research, including staff interviews. Many of the people at that table have been interviewed to find out about their pain points, how they see the website as part of their job, whether they use it, how the process generally goes for them. And we're also doing a very large survey. The Oakland librarians are actually helping us out with that. They're part of our core team. They're an amazing resource. They're really expert at reaching diverse populace across the city. And we have surveys out right now in multiple languages so that we can hopefully get as much feedback from as many different kinds of people in Oakland as we can. And as Sid mentioned, I did used to work for GDS, so I'm hoping to bring some of the expertise there over to Oakland and see how we can apply the very strong user-focused, user-centered design approach to a municipal website and what that means there. I think it's a slightly different challenge, and it will be interesting to see how that pans out. But I think there are definitely lessons to be learnt from GDS and other organizations that we can apply to city level.
And finally, we're looking at decentralization. So that means diffusing innovation through the whole organization. So in Oakland, we don't have an Office of Innovation. It's not driven in an organizational way from the top down. We're really looking at a 360-degree engagement. We want to make sure, and it's absolutely critical that the mayor is on board, and she has been, that our city council are our champions, and they have been, that the department heads and the city administrator know what we're doing, but also that the line staff and the field staff have a sense of what is it that we're doing to deliver service? How are we meeting people where they are? The other thing that we've approached in terms of decentralizing is that we're in some ways trying to avoid the vicissitudes of political elections, where it's very easy for innovation folks to be swept out with the next election. We really want this change to be embedded in the organization and for people inside the government to feel like they are part of that change. When we talk about designing with and for people, we realized when we designed Record Track last year, part of the fellowship, is that our city employees are people too. I know that we all see ourselves as humans, as city employees. But when cities employees are frustrated, when they don't have the tools they need, the training, the technology, and the support, when the policies are out of date or no longer make sense, when the procedures are unclear, then they can't deliver good service. The customer's frustrated, they're frustrated, the process gets crunchy. So we know that if we can diffuse this change and we can look at it holistically so that we're giving people the tools and the training and the resources they need to deliver effective services, that will be a long way. So the technology and the website is sort of the end product, but really we're looking at a whole process change. I would say that we're modeling a new path, and what we're hoping to do is forge a path forward for cities. We had a wonderful conversation this morning, a roundtable with cities from around the country who are all also facing the same kinds of struggles. And in some ways it felt like a therapy session, because it was like, oh good, we're not alone, we're all struggling with the same kinds of things. And what we want to do at the end is to have a roadmap so that we can make data-driven decisions. We can make a business case to the council for funding. We can also make a case to the taxpayers who are ultimately funding this, that we are hearing you and we are going to apply resources where they need to be. I'll give you a little example. We know that our analytics show we have about 100,000 unique hits to our homepage every month, but we only spend $90,000 a decade delivering those services. If we had 100,000 people coming to City Hall every month, we would not just staff it for 3 months every 10 years. We would make sure we had staff there during the hours and people there. I think the challenge with digital service delivery is, in a way, it's a little bit invisible. And so what our process here is to try to make that visible and give folks new tools. Ultimately, what we want to do is we want to make it fun for users of all kinds, internal and external. We want to make it last. We want to make sure we're making investments that will stick for a long time. And we really see there's no finish line. This is part of continuous improvement, and we'll keep getting better as we go.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.